I didn't believe in ghosts. Or at least that's what I thought until I got to that house. Let's call it the house on the edge of the forest, an old, crumbling one with a roof that looks like broken teeth. I went there to help the neighbors who complained about the strange noises. It's like screams, Martha, their daughter, told me when I stopped by their car. Her voice was trembling, even though she was trying to smile. The house was half a mile from their farm, deep in the woods. It looked harmless from the outside, wooden with peeling paint, but inside, the interior smelled of mold and something burnt. Martha said that her mother sometimes heard whispers in the walls, and her father saw a shadow at the window, but I put it down to nerves. Old people, lonely people, maybe they watch too many horror movies. But when we entered, I felt the hairs on my arms stand on end. Not from fear, but from a static itch in the air, like before a thunderstorm. Marta pointed to the second floor. There, in the bedroom. She heard it last night. I took a flashlight to explore the rooms. Everything was quiet on the ground floor, except for the creaking of floorboards under my feet and the sound of the wind outside the windows. But when I went up the stairs, something changed. The bedroom had a bed with a feather bed covered in dust and a chest of drawers that someone had pulled out halfway. There were old newspapers on the floor, yellow with age. I sat down to pick one up. The date was 1987. Death in a house on the edge of the forest. I read the headline. The photo showed a man in a police uniform standing at the entrance. "This is my grandfather," Martha whispered behind my back. "He died here." I didn't have time to say anything. A sound came from under the floor, a thud, as if something heavy had fallen. Then again, then silence. "Are these rats?" I asked, but Martha had already turned pale. She squeezed my hand. It was him. Who? She didn't have time to answer. The walls trembled as if the house had sighed. And suddenly a scream. He cut through the silence like a knife. Deep, hoarse, as if coming from the throat of a man who is suffocating. The scream came again, and I realized it was coming from a basement. Martha grabbed my arm. There shouldn't be anyone there. The house has been empty for decades. Then why? I began, but she was already running down the stairs, dragging me with her. The basement was dark, but I knew the door led into it. I'd seen it in the hall. But when we got there, it was locked. "It's locked," Martha said, checking the lock. "But there's no key." I looked at her. Her eyes were wide, like those of a child who is having a nightmare. "We need to find a way out," she whispered. "It's going to be dark soon." I didn't understand what she meant until I heard a scratching sound outside the basement door, as if someone was trying to open it from inside. Continuation, main plot. We ran through the whole house, but all the doors led to a dead end. The stairs to the second floor collapsed, as if someone had torn down the steps. Martha clutched at my sleeve. There should be an old key to the basement in the garage. My father said he kept it there. We reached the garage, which was spacious and had faded walls. There was a toolbox in the corner. I opened it looking for the key, but instead I saw an old note pinned to the drawer. "If you're reading this, then I'm already dead. They'll come back anyway. Close the doors. Don't believe the screams. Johnson." "My grandfather," Martha whispered. "But who are they?" I didn't have time to answer. The walls shook again, and the wind blew into the garage as if the door had swung open by itself. But I didn't hear it open. We ran back to the house, but the corridors had changed. They were longer now, narrower, like in a maze. Martha stumbled, and the flashlight slipped out of her hand. "Don't stop." I shouted, but she was already standing, looking at something behind my back. I turned around. There was blood on the wall in front of me. Not a drawing, fresh, wet. And she was moving. Drops rolled down the plaster, as if someone had just stood there and cried tears of blood. It's impossible," I whispered. "It's here," Martha said. "It's always been here." We turned a corner, and I saw a door that I hadn't noticed before. It was decorated with a carved symbol, a circle with a dot in the center. These don't look like Christian symbols," Martha said. "But it looks ancient." I pulled the handle. The door opened, and we entered a room that I still can't remember the details of. Only the smell is a mixture of rot and incense. There was something shiny on the floor. Martha picked it up. It was an old camera with dried blood on the case. "It's my grandfather's camera," she said. "He used it when..." She stopped talking. I turned on the flashlight and illuminated the wall. There were dozens of old photographs hanging there. Each one shows people who died in this house. My gaze fell on the last one, a black and white picture where my grandfather Johnson was standing, smiling, but there was something missing in his eyes. "He didn't die by accident," Martha whispered. "He knew what was going to happen." At that moment, we heard footsteps. They were approaching down the hallway, loud, as if someone was running barefoot. But it wasn't a man. The steps were too fast, too many. Martha grabbed the camera and pointed it at the door. "The camera doesn't work," she said. "There are no batteries." Then, I didn't finish. The door burst open. There was a man standing in the doorway, or what's left of it. He was burned, his skin charred, like a wax doll that had been thrown into a fire. His mouth was open in an eternal scream, but his eyes were alive. "Johnson," Martha whispered. "No," I said. "It's not him. That's what killed him." It moved towards us, and I realized that it wasn't a human. It was something else, a body made up of pieces held together. It looked like a mannequin, but with movements too fast for the mechanism. Martha darted to the side, and I followed her. We found ourselves in the kitchen, where there was an old kitchen knife on the table. I grabbed it, but it was already coming, and I could see it laughing. Not human laughter, but the rasp of metal. "It's not a ghost," Martha shouted. "This is an experiment. Something that was done in this house." "What?" I shouted, but she was already running into the basement. I followed her, but now the door was open. There was a light below, so bright it hurt my eyes. "It's a trap," Martha said. "They always come back." "Who?" "Those who created it." She pointed to the walls of the basement. Inscriptions written in blood crawled across them. "They're waiting. They are always waiting. Remember, this is not the end." I didn't have time to ask anything. It was already there. Continuation. We ran into the darkness, but the way was closed. There was a light somewhere at the end of the corridor, but was getting fainter. Martha was clutching my sleeve, and I could feel her hand shaking. "We need to find a way out," she said. "But the house, it changes shape." I stopped when I heard a sound, drops of water falling into the pool. But there was no pool in the house. "This is the basement," I whispered. "It's turned into a basement." We went down the stairs that led down, down, down. Every step echoed in the walls. There was a window at the end of the stairs, through which the forest could be seen. I approached it, but the glass was paper thin. Behind him, in the shadow of the trees, I saw figures. They stood in a circle, holding torches in their hands. Their faces were hidden by hoods, but I knew who they were. "They're the ones who did the experiments," Martha said. "They came back to finish what they started." "How?" I asked. "This is 2023. They don't die," she replied. "They turned into this." She pointed to the window. The figures began to approach the house. "We need to leave before they..." I didn't finish. The ground beneath us trembled. The walls of the basement collapsed, and we ended up in the basement under the basement. There in the center was an altar. On it were photographs of all those who had died in this house, including Martha and me. "It wasn't an accident," Martha said. "They were waiting for us." "Why?" "Because..." She stopped when I saw the inscription on the altar. "Blood for blood." "My grandfather killed them," Martha said. "He tried to stop the experiments, but they came back. Now they want us to be part of their cycle." I didn't have time to say anything. It came out of the darkness, the thing that killed Johnson. "Run!" Martha shouted. We ran, but the house shrank around us as if alive. Every turn led to a dead end, but we could hear their footsteps, the footsteps of the living and the dead that would never leave. We found ourselves in the library, where there was an old computer. Martha turned on, and the text lit up on the screen. "Time is up. You can't leave. You are part of an experiment." "It can't be," I began, but Martha was already reading on. "An experiment to create immortals." They were implanting particles of something that shouldn't exist. My grandfather tried to stop them, but they turned him into one of them. Now they're waiting to transform you two. We need to find a way out, she said. But how? I suddenly noticed a window behind the closet. It was small, but big enough to fit through. That way, I said. But first, I went to the closet and opened it. There were old folders with documents inside. One of them was signed Dr. Allison. This is the chief scientist, Martha said. He became part of the experiment himself. I opened the folder and saw the drawings, strange diagrams similar to magic symbols, but with scientific formulas. It's not witchcraft, Martha said. This is physics. They found a way to enter other dimensions, and now they want us to join them. She squeezed my hand. They want us to die so that our bodies can become their new vessels. We ran to the window, but it was closed. I hit the glass, but it didn't crack. It's protected, Martha said. They won't let us escape. Then I looked around. It was already at the door. Hurry up, Martha shouted. I rushed to the window and started kicking out the glass. It wouldn't budge. Use the knife. Stop it, she shouted. I took out a kitchen knife and stabbed it into the glass. It cracked, and I started smashing the pieces. It was getting closer, and I could see its charred body contorting as if it could change shape. Just a little more. I shouted. Martha was already in the window, and I squeezed through the opening too. We were outside in the rain. The house behind us began to collapse, bricks falling down. Run, Martha shouted. We ran through the forest until we heard screams behind us. But then I heard another sound, footsteps. We ran through the forest, tripping over tree roots and bumping into boulders. It was raining like a bucket, and I didn't know if my hands were shaking from the cold or from fear. Martha was running ahead, her hair matted from the water, and she kept looking back, as if someone was really following us. On the left. Stop it, she suddenly shouted. I looked in that direction and saw a gap between the trees. There, in the distance, the light of the farm flickered, Martha's house. But as we approached, my heart skipped a beat. The door stood open, and the windows were as dark as extinguished candles. They're already here, Martha whispered. They won't let us hide. I wanted to ask who she was talking about, but she was already running away, towards the clearing. I followed her, but a strange sound caught my attention, the creaking of wood cracking. Stop, I shouted. It's not a tree. In front of us, in the clearing, stood a man, or what's left of it. He was wearing torn clothes, and his face was burned, like the creature in the basement, but wasn't a mannequin. It was a living person who looked at us with empty eyes. Johnson, Martha asked. He didn't answer. His mouth opened and closed as if he was trying to scream, but only a wheeze came out of his throat. It's not him, I said. This is... I didn't finish. The man began to move, and his movements were ridiculous, like a doll on ropes. He was walking towards us, and I remember Martha's old notes about experiments. Perhaps it was a former neighbor who once lived next to the farm. Martha grabbed my arm and pulled me away. We ran through the bushes, and I felt the branches tearing at my arms, but it was better than staying put. Where to now? I shouted. Into the woods, she replied. There's an old hunter's house there. We can hide. We made our way through the thicket until we came across a small wooden house. The door was wide open, and the inside smelled of mold and rot. Look, Martha said, pointing at the wall. There were dozens of photographs hanging there, all the same faces that were on the altar. And one of them was new, a picture of Martha and me, taken just a few hours ago. They're watching us, I whispered. How? It's not them, she said, coming closer. That's... I do not know, but we have to find a way out. She opened the closet and took out a flashlight. When we turned it on, we saw that the floor of the house was strewn with traps, wires strung between poles and traps. It's a deer trap, Martha said. But now, she didn't finish. There was the sound of footsteps outside, and we heard someone approaching the house. They're here, I whispered. Martha grabbed a kitchen knife with a nail on the end. It was the only weapon we found. We need to leave through the back door, she said. But be careful, there could be a trap. We crept to the exit, and I froze when I saw that the door led to the swamp. The water was dark, and I could see something moving under the surface. "There's no other way," Martha said. "Either we go or—" She didn't finish. There was a crash outside. Someone was trying to open the door. "Run." "Stop it," she shouted. We jumped into the water and started swimming, but the cold got to my bones. There were shadows floating around, perhaps fish or something more. Martha suddenly froze, and I saw her foot stuck in the mud. "Help me." "Stop it," she shouted. I reached for her, but at that moment something pricked my arm. "Ah," I blurted out. She pulled my arm, and we got out onto dry land, but I felt blood dripping from my shoulder. "It was a venomous snake," Martha said, examining the scratch. "We need to find a cure." "Where?" "In the hunter's house." "But he's already there." "Who?" "The hunter. He's part of the experiment, too." I didn't have time to ask anything. There was a crunch of branches from behind. We turned around and saw a man in a hunter's mask. He had a gun in his hands, but his eyes were as empty as the man's in the clearing. "Don't shoot." I shouted. "We don't." He wasn't listening. Shot. Martha fell, and I rushed to her. "Are you okay?" "In the side." She squeezed the wound with her hand. "Run, I can't hold you back." "No, I won't leave it." "Run. Otherwise we'll both die." He took aim again. I rushed into the bushes, hearing Martha shouting at my pursuer. "You don't have to do this. This is not the end." But he wasn't listening. I ran until I came across an old road. The lights of Martha's farm were burning in the distance, but I couldn't go back. A shot rang out behind me, and I knew that Martha... No, I couldn't think about it. I ran on until I saw a light on the side of the road. "Help me!" I shouted. People came out of the darkness. "The police," one of them said. "What happened?" "There in the forest." I began, but they were already looking at me suspiciously. "You killed her, didn't you?" The policeman asked. "We found the recording from the camera. You entered the house, but she didn't come back." "It's not like that. There are others out there." They grabbed my hands. "Shut up," the policeman said. "You're already on their list." "What list?" "The list of victims." They pushed me into the car. "You don't understand," but they were already driving away. I stared out the window until Martha's farm was out of sight, and then I realized that this was just the beginning. The police took me to the police station, but something was wrong. Their conversations were quiet, almost in whispers, and they were constantly looking around, as if they were afraid that we were being watched. When I asked what was going on, one of them abruptly grabbed me by the neck. "Shut up before I want you to join her." I didn't understand what he meant until we arrived at the station. It was old, with broken windows and fire marks. There were photographs on the walls, all the same faces as in the hunter's house. "Are these your victims?" I asked, but they didn't answer. They locked me in a cell, but not in an iron one, but in a windowless room with a musty smell. I sat down on the floor and started thinking. Why were the police acting so strangely? Why are photos everywhere? And where is Martha? An hour later, the door opened, and a man in uniform entered. His face was familiar. It was Martha's neighbor, John, a farmer who always nodded silently at us on the road. "Do you know what she did?" he asked. "She broke the rules." "What are the rules?" "They're waiting. Their experiment is not over. You have to understand that this is not a mystery. This is science. What kind of experiment?" He sat down across from me. "Martin, you have to help us, or we'll send you to them." "To whom?" "There are people in the forest who didn't die. They were reborn, and they want us to support them." "How do we support it?" "We are conducting experiments. We are looking for new ones." "Do you kill people?" "No. We help them find a new shape." "How?" He took a camera out of his pocket, the one we found in the house. "Have you seen him?" he asked. "This is a memory recorder. We transfer consciousness into the bodies of others." "That's impossible." "It is possible if you know how." "And Martha?" He nodded. "She was too close to the truth. Now she's there. With them. Where? In the house. In the basement. I jumped up, but he grabbed my arm. You can help her. But for that, you need to pass the test. What's that? You have to go back there. Into the forest. Why? They're waiting. And if you don't go, they'll come after us. You summon them yourself. We can't stop. It's a cycle. You are mentally ill. He smiled. Maybe. But you're going, right? Otherwise, he pointed to the door where footsteps could be heard. You'll be where she is. I realized that I had no choice. An hour later, I was released, but on the condition that I return to the forest and find Martha. I went. It was already noon when I reached the farm. Martha's house was empty, but I saw footprints in the woods, fresh footprints leading to the old house. I entered the house. It was dark, but there was a light on in the basement. Martha was lying on the floor. Martha, I shouted. She didn't answer. Her body was immobilized, but her eyes were open and staring at one point. Did they do this to you? I asked. She didn't move. Suddenly, the door to the basement opened. John was standing in the doorway, a farmer, a policeman, part of their sect. She's alive, he said. Just waiting. Waiting for what? Waking up. Her consciousness moved to a new body. Where? He pointed to the altar where dozens of photographs lay. In one of them, perhaps in a new victim. Do you kill people to transfer consciousness? Yes, but it's not murder. This is evolution. You are mentally ill. He smiled. Maybe, but you're already a part of it. What? You heard the screams in the house. I heard footsteps. Is that you? All of us. We're moving on. And now you have to choose. A choice. Join us or remain a victim. I don't believe in your nonsense. Then tell me, why do you remember Martha falling? Because I saw it. No, you saw it because now you're there too. He nodded at my hand, and where the snake had bitten me, there was now a scar in the shape of a circle with a dot in the center. You're already one of us, John said. And now you have to choose whether to be a victim or a part of it. I choose to leave. You can't. He took out a knife. Then kill me, I said. He hesitated, and I rushed to the door. You won't understand until you see it. He shouted after me. I ran until I came across a car. There was a policeman inside, the one who had arrested me. You're back, he said. Good. He turned on the engine. Where to? To the farm. To them. I'm not. He grabbed my hand. You're already a part of it. And now you have to... No. I hit him in the face and ran out of the car. But he was right. I couldn't run away. And then I realized that this was not an experiment. It was much worse. It was a reality that I was stuck in forever. I ran through the woods until I came across the old hunter's house, the one where Martha and I were hiding. The door was open, and I went in, hoping to find shelter. But inside, everything has changed. There were pictures of me, Martha, John, and the cops on the floor. In the center was a table with a map on which points were marked. All of them led to our house. You found us, a voice said from behind me. I turned around. It was John, a farmer, a policeman, part of their sect. You're all part of it, aren't you? I asked. You bring people into the house, and we don't kill them, he interrupted. We're giving them a chance. What's the chance? He pointed at my hand, and the scar in the shape of a circle with a dot in the center was now burning like a burn. You've already passed the test, he said. Your consciousness. It's already there. Where? He opened the cabinet, and I saw dozens of bottles of liquid. Each one had a human body floating in it. They're not dead, John whispered. They are waiting. This is a crime. This is evolution. And now you have to go through the last step. Or what? He took out a knife. Or you'll join them. I rushed to the door, but it was locked. Outside the window, I saw others, those whom they called reborn. They were standing in the forest, their faces pale, but their eyes shone like those of the living. They're waiting, John said. And now they're waiting for you, too. I won't be a part of yours. He hit me. You're already a part of it. I lost consciousness. I woke up in the basement of the house. There was a note on the table. You chose the path. Now you can see them. Their screams. Their footsteps. This is not mysticism. This is your new world. I got up and saw a mirror. My face was reflected in it, but there was darkness in my eyes. I went outside. The forest was empty, but I could hear them. Screams, footsteps, whispers. Now I knew it wasn't a hallucination. They were the ones who were waiting. I found a car and tried to leave, but there were cops on the road. "You're back," one of them said. "We've been waiting." They weren't human. Their eyes were shining like the ones in the basement. "You can't stop me," I said. "We've already stopped it," John replied. "You're already one of us." They grabbed me, and I realized that it was true. Now I know they're right. It's not a crime. This is a new stage of life, and I'm waiting. I'm waiting for my mind to clear. I'm waiting until I can join them.